Okay, well, we're going to get started here. I have 7:02. And I just want to welcome everybody who's on with us right now. And I wanted to say that Amalia, our secretary, is having a lovely cruising week-long vacation. So my husband Hal is stepping in as the secretary tonight. I believe Jim Carroll was on. Jim, I'm not, there you are.
You're still
here. Okay, and Jim, you'll let me know. I'm not sure we have a quorum if we're going to make any decisions. Do you think we do yet? No, probably not. You're muted, Jim. You're muted. There you are.
We got 11 dues paid members on the screen with us here.
11?
12.
12.
How many total
We've got
members?
56 now, don't we, Gary?
57 counting Sherry, or 50, I think Sherry makes 60. Sherry makes 60, so
60. Oh,
we need 12, we got 12.
okay. All right.
We need 5. You need 5%.
Email me, Gary, the latest, because I don't have the list with 60, I don't think. But
Okay.
okay. All right. I want to get started here. And so welcome to everybody who's on with us. I do not see anybody who is not identified so that our secretary can take the attendance, or acting secretary for tonight. What I'm going to do, guys, is we're going to have a brief business meeting after Danielle speaks so that she can speak and we can ask some questions, and then she doesn't have to be here. You don't have to be here if you don't want to be here for the meeting, Danielle. Okay, I mean for the rest of the meeting. So without further delay, I'm going to say welcome to Danielle Hawk, who's our speaker tonight. My husband Hal and I met Danielle back in October in Micanopy, the Micanopy Fall Festival. She had a booth there and we were trying to register people to vote. And I have to say, I was extremely impressed with Danielle's energy and dedication to what she's undertaking, which is quite an undertaking as far as I'm concerned. And she's from a middle-class family from Pennsylvania, and her parents instilled in her a really lifelong commitment to volunteering and public service. She's done work in El Salvador and Guatemala in a program supporting impoverished and orphan children. She holds a BA in ministry from Palm Beach Atlantic University and a Master's of Arts in Intercultural Studies from Biola University. She's worked as an administrator in higher education, and she's been a community organizer. And one of the things I really like is that she's a longtime advocate for women's rights. Yay for us women. And she most recently organized the North Carolina Central Florida, co-organized the North Carolina Central, I've lived in North Carolina too long, North Central Florida March for Reproductive Freedom and Justice. So Danielle is a recognized, skilled, and dedicated, passionate organizer in her community, and I'm just happy to have her here to speak to us. You've got the floor, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thanks. Can everybody hear me okay? Just like nod your heads a little bit. Beautiful. Great. Thank you. One of my favorite things about running is the amazing people that I get to meet. And I really do feel like I get to make friends. And I feel that way about you, Linda, that we've become friends very quickly. So I'm really honored to be here. As I was introduced, my name is Danielle Hawk, just like the bird. So if you need to remember it, it's Hawk, just like the bird. And I am the Democratic candidate for Congress in Florida's 3rd District. So I heard you guys chatting at the beginning about the 3rd District, and that includes Clay, Alachua, Bradford, Putnam, Union, and then about half of Marion County. It cuts off at State Road 40. So when I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background about who I am, talk to you a little bit about this race and kind of frame this race for you. and give you some background, and then kind of mention a few of our policy points, some things that we're working on as a campaign, and then we're going to have some time for questions. So if I just want to double check that I'm good on time, I have about 12 minutes of a few things I want to say, and then we will have the rest of the time for questions. So when I am out talking to voters on the campaign trail, which is what my campaign does the most, we spend time out in the community having one-on-one conversations with people. I often hear people say that they feel like our country is headed down a dark path, and they feel like there is division and hatred and prejudice everywhere they turn. They see it on the news, they see it with their neighbors, they see it on Facebook, it's everywhere. And I get that. I see it myself, and I experience it myself as a young woman running for office. But I can still see hope on the horizon. One of those places where I see hope is the fact that we are all gathered here on a Thursday night on Zoom because we really care about our communities and we want to see change as Democrats. We also elected Joe Biden as our president, and we unseated an incumbent president for the first time in almost 30 years. And as a nation, we were experiencing the worst pandemic that we have experienced in almost 100 years. And voters trusted Democrats to lead. They didn't trust Republicans. They chose Democrats to lead. And we saw that the messaging of fear is really only getting Republicans so far, because Democrats are offering hope to everyday people, something that Republicans really struggle to do. And the sad reality is that there are people who serve in public office all over this country who are very concerned with keeping their power and padding their pockets, more so than they are with helping the people who elected them to represent them. And we see that with many Republicans and unfortunately, even some Democrats, and they've lost sight of what representation actually means. They have forgotten that the purpose of all of this, the reason why we have Democratic clubs, the reason why we have all of this set up in the first place is because we need to support our neighbors and our communities. Kat Cammack is the Republican opponent that I'm running against. And she's one of those elected officials who has forgotten about what representation is. She spends her time anywhere but her own district. She is often on a Facebook live stream complaining about some policy she has to vote for, or she's going off with CPAC or Turning Point USA all over the country doing speaking engagements. And she's trying to figure out what office that she's going to run for next. She doesn't actually care about what's happening here in her district. Her very first act as a congresswoman was a vote to decertify the 2020 election results. So this is her first term, and that was the first thing that she decided to do with her office. She voted against the COVID relief package that lifted millions of children out of poverty and provided financial support for Americans out of work. She voted right after that against the Violence Against Women Act, which would have provided federal funding for domestic violence shelters nationwide, and it hasn't been reauthorized, and it's holding up that funding even for places here in our own district. And then she voted against the bipartisan infrastructure bill that is going to bring rural broadband to about 100,000 people here in our district who do not have reliable access to internet. And then she went ahead and sent out a Christmas mailer that she erroneously sent to my house and said, guess what? We're bringing rural broadband to your district. And that is not real representation. Right here in our district, we are facing real world problems and our representative is nowhere to be found. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I am tired of representatives not caring about my friends or my family because they're just thinking about their donors or their next career move. And unlike Kat Cammack, I am not a politico who has spent the last decade building out this career path for me to run for Congress. I am an activist, an organizer, a neighbor, a sister, an employee, and I just want a seat at the table so that we can bring lasting change to North Central Florida and to this whole state. And I'm no stranger to being an advocate or standing up for what's, and I know Linda mentioned a little bit about my background earlier, but my siblings and I were raised by incredible parents who taught us, incredible Republican parents, ironically, who taught us to support each other and to love everyone, no matter their race, their political beliefs, or their religion, and to serve our community wherever we could. I don't know that we could say that a lot of Republicans still believe that. And even as a child, I spent time baking cupcakes to raise money for an anti-human trafficking organization. And I put together a school-wide holiday gift drive for troops in Afghanistan. And then in my professional career as an administrator in higher education, one of my first acts as a director of a department was pushing for equitable distribution of scholarship funding. And that allowed more low-income students to access our university's international education opportunities. As Linda mentioned, I spent time working abroad in Central America, doing humanitarian projects like building toilets in rural villages. And during the height of the pandemic, I worked alongside of UF faculty and staff, pushing for a safe work environment and for ADA accommodations for faculty and staff on campus. And then again, as Linda mentioned, I was able to work alongside of some incredible community organizers in North Central Florida, and we organized the March for Reproductive Freedom and Justice. And I've organized other events alongside of them, including the Stop Asian Hate March during the rise of anti-Asian violence last year. And as a representative of this district, I will be here. I will keep fighting for the issues that are keeping us all up at night. And our campaign's platform has one purpose: to make a difference in the lives of everyday people. And we believe that it is high time that our legislators start putting people at the forefront of our policies, not corporations, not power, and not money. And we need to prioritize legislation that protects American workers and balances the scales of power and accountability, such as the PRO Act and the right to repair. And that also includes raising the federal minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. And every worker deserves a safe and dignified workspace. And no one who works should be unable to make ends meet in the United States of America. We need to pass legislation that lowers prescription drug costs, expands Medicare and Medicaid eligibility. And we believe that everyone should be able to afford a visit to the doctor, and our ability to access quality healthcare should not be tied to our employment status. We need to fully fund our public schools and provide equal opportunities for pre-K, primary education, community college, trade school, certificate programs, and traditional universities. Access to education should not be determined by our family zip code or how much money we have in the bank. It is very vital to our communities in North Central Florida, including down there in Marion, that we provide federal funding protection for restoring our freshwater springs. We need to be holding corporations accountable for exploiting our natural resources while our communities and everyday people are paying the cost of their harmful practices. And as Linda mentioned, as a longtime advocate of women's rights, especially now with the Florida House last night, but technically today, passing restrictive bills attacking women, we need federal legislation that is going to codify, protect, support, and uplift the rights of women. And we should be equipped with comprehensive reproductive health care at all stages of our lives so that we are able to truly exercise our freedom and make informed decisions about our own bodies. We have got a lot of work to do. That was a lot, and that only just scrapes the surface of the policies that we are really passionate about on this campaign. And it is a lot of hard work. Linda mentioned earlier, it is a It is monumental. It's huge, what we're trying to do here in this district. And it's going to take all of us. I'm not going to be able to do all of this on my own. And when I think of my vision for this district, what I want to see happen here in the future, I think of people like you. All of you are here, as I said earlier, because you really, really care. You care about what happens to our communities. And this is going to be a tough fight, and I can't do it alone. And even though you live outside of my district, I really want your support. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why you should care about a race that's not necessarily in your district. So a few days ago, Ron DeSantis put out a redistricting plan that's going to possibly shape Florida's third, and it would include all of Marion County. So there is a possibility that if some version of that map was passed, that I would be your representative. The map is going to eliminate representation for Black voters in North Florida who are currently represented by a Democrat, Al Lawson, and gerrymander all of those Black voters into Republican seats. Kat claims to be a representative of Marion County, but she is only speaking to groups that she is comfortable with. If you go and look on her Facebook page, or you go and look at any of her newsletters or anything, she's very, very choosy about who she spends her time with. She spends 2 minutes in with a group she's comfortable with that aren't going to challenge her, and then she's out. And I want to know, when is the last time she actually did a town hall in Marion County? When was the last time she actually did something where she could converse with voters in Marion County? And just last week, she met with Ocala's chapter of the Heritage Foundation, which is an extremely far-right conservative group that's funded by the Koch brothers, to kind of give you an idea of the people that she's spending her time with. And Marion County, as you know, faces real-world problems. There are an opiate addiction epidemic, strained and overly politicized public school system, a rise in gun violence, and representatives like Kat, they don't care about these problems. And instead of her reaching across the aisle, having discussions about policy, talking to people like this, having an open and honest conversation about what she believes in and what her solutions are, she is spending every single night on a different right news network, repeating the same tired talking points that political consultants and high dollar donors are telling her to. Every single night she does the same thing. We have this joke on my campaign now that they can play the first 20 seconds of an interview where the interviewer asks the questions, and then they pause it and say, okay, Danielle, what is she gonna say? And I can get it, all of the talking points depending on the question. And I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over again. She cannot have a real substantive conversation about the policy issues. What we do as Congress, as a federal legislative body, affects everyone in our country. When I make a decision, I'm not just making a decision for my district. I'm making a decision for the entirety of Florida. I'm making a decision for the entirety of the country, not just people who live in my district. And I'm here because I want to bring real leadership and representation to all voters in North Central Florida. I want people who are in Marion, even if you're not in my district, to be really proud that I am representing your county, maybe not exactly inside the boundaries of the district, but I want people to say, you know what, that's my representative. That person is there representing me in Congress. So I'm inviting you guys to join me on the campaign trail. You might not be able to vote for me, but there is so much that we need help with. You can do phone banking. You can sign petitions. I know that Linda has been helping turn in some petitions, and that helps us get on the ballot so people in the district can vote for us. We have some local events that are coming up that we need volunteers to just stand out there with our campaign literature at a table and have conversations with voters about the democratic values and ideals that we have. Even writing letters to the editor for local newspapers so that people who do live in the district can see that and see that you guys are excited about our policies and why it's so important that we have real representation. And finally, contributing financially to the campaign. I mentioned earlier that Kat is hanging out with people who are sponsored by the Koch brothers. I'm not taking money from just anybody. I am very picky and choosy because my vote is not for sale, which means I need people, even if they're outside of our district, to be willing to write a check and believe in what we're doing here in Florida's third district. So I know that that was like drinking from a fire hose. It's a lot of information about our campaign, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got a really good feel for my passion for this district, for the things that I'm really concerned about, the things that we're fighting for. And that way we can go ahead and engage and have a really good conversation. So if Linda, if you could watch my time for me, I am notoriously bad at knowing what time it is. So I need you to say, we're done when we're done. So.
All right. I'll open up the floor to questions for Danielle. I have a few, but I'd like to give other people a chance to ask any question that you might have for Danielle. Yeah, there you go, Gary.
I want you to know that we collected petitions from the Oak Run group. A fair number of people sent them to you directly and individually, but we also collected, I think, 20 some odd petitions that came in a single envelope from us. The question is, how are you doing as to petitions? How many more do you need? And remind us what the deadline is.
Yeah, we are about 2/3 of the way there, which is incredible. We have a margin of error, because when you turn some in, you know, somebody might have moved or they might have put the wrong information. So with our margin of error, we're turning in about 3,200 and we're about 2/3 of the way there. To qualify to get on the ballot, the date is April 23rd, towards the end of April. Our goal is that the first week of March, we are turning in all of our petitions and we are done. And we are on the ballot and we're absolutely done. And we are well on our way to doing that, well on our way to getting that done. And that's thanks to people like you. I absolutely love getting that, I call it happy mail, when people send us stuff into our campaign office. And we love opening the mail and seeing all of your sweet notes of support, your petitions and stuff. So if you go on our website, which I will put the website in the chat link in just a second, you can go on our website and right on the homepage, the first thing on the homepage is information about the getting us on the ballot. And there's a place for you to download the English. There's a Spanish version and an English version of the form, and you can just print that out and mail it in. Anybody who is registered to vote in the state of Florida, they don't have to live in our district. They don't have to be a Democrat. Anybody who's registered to vote in the state of Florida can fill one out. So the website is right there. And I have a few other things I'll drop in the chat as well for you guys to look at.
Does anybody else have a question at this moment? Go ahead, Jim, Carol.
Following up on the petition question, if you don't get the number needed, are you going to pony up the money to run still or not?
We are going to get the number that we need.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have, it is $10,000.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And a petition, when you budget it out, costs about $2 a petition to turn in. So we're saving, you know, between our people power and stuff, we're saving about $4,000. One of our core values on the campaign is being good stewards of the resources that we have been given. And we want to have those one-on-one conversations with people. We want to have that in-person contact and let people know that we're listening to them. And petitions are a really, really good way to do that. So we decided to go the petition route. There are people who are like, I can't be bothered, but we can be bothered and we will be bothered, and we're getting it done. So we have a couple of events that are coming up where we'll be collecting petitions. We've got about one a week, and we have interns that their sole job is collecting this number of petitions a week. So we are well on our way to be qualified in March.
Danielle, this is Irv Becker.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, question for you: with your energy and excitement, is there anybody in our particular area that you would think that we should address conversation with also? I mean, you address all the points that we're concerned with. Is there, we seem to have a dearth of democratic oriented people in our area.
Are you talking about candidates, sir, or?
Yes.
Okay, we are in, Danielle, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Daniel Webster is our United States Congressperson.
Unfortunately, yes.
District 11. And I honestly cannot recall if he has a Democratic opponent right now. Does he, Danielle?
No,
Well,
I looked that up
Okay.
beforehand, and there doesn't seem to be anybody who's filed to run against him. I suspect that part of that is because that area is pretty contentious with the maps. And so, you know, he might not even be in Congressional District 11 anymore, depending on where he lives. So I suspect that once the maps are finalized, that you'll see a couple of people who crop up who are going to run and challenge him or challenge whoever is wherever you guys end up in that district. You guys are in a really unique place because you kind of are in like a tri-state area kind of situation where you're right on the cusp and you could end up in a couple of districts. And the interesting thing about redistricting is, besides Ron DeSantis's absolutely whack map that I don't really foresee, because it's very unprecedented that a governor would even propose a redistricting map. Nobody's ever done that before. And besides that map, this district is not, you know, the Florida third is not changing with any of the drafts that they have submitted that I have looked at. There's about 6 or 7 drafts that I've seen, and all of them only move by a mile or two in one direction.
Danielle, could you remind us when is the deadline for the redistricting to be completed?
Well, the original deadline has passed.
Okay.
So they're just kind of making it up as they go along at this point. They should have definitely finalized the maps by now, but because the maps are based on census data and the census was delayed because of the pandemic, they are now very delayed in all of their processes. So the qualifying deadline is the end of April. They need to have it done by the end of April, or they're going to have to push back the qualifying deadline because nobody will know what district they live in. I live pretty much in the middle of, I live right on East Gainesville, like close to the Bradford County line. So I'm right in the middle, which everything I've seen, they don't even come anywhere close to drawing me out of the district. Even the wacky map, I will still be in the same district. So.
Okay. Well, so I want to make this clear, and Danielle, you can help this for me.
Yeah.
Some of our members are very concerned, you know, already about what the complete slate of candidates that we're going to have to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to point out that we have to go through a primary first before we will know who definitely the candidates are. And as Danielle so well explaining to us, the districts are up in the air right now. So what we think, we are in 11 right now for the United States Congress, but you know, who knows what's going to happen. Danielle, if you had to advise our members what the best place for them to go look up this kind of information, like keep track of who has gotten, you know, approved to be in the primary or who's likely to run in the future, which website, or do you have a website you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the chat. I already had it open because I do my research before I jump on. Okay. So this is govtrack.us, and you can do it by congressional district. You can do it by like state senate district or house district. And it's really helpful. The reason I like this one is because you can literally put in your address and it will show you the line on Google Maps and tell you where you're located. So if you want to know if your friend is in a district, this will tell you exactly if they're with, like, what boundaries they're within, which is really helpful. And then it will give you the whole ticket and will let you know all the way down the ballot who your representatives are.
Okay.
Have
you ever used Ballotpedia? Have you ever looked at Ballotpedia?
Yeah. And actually our Ballotpedia We just finished. It is a lot to submit a Ballotpedia survey. It takes a lot of work. And I have my Ballotpedia that was just finished this week. They finally posted my Ballotpedia. So I'm just going to overwhelm all of you with links, and I'll put that in there too. You can read that. So
Okay.
yeah, they have a whole survey and stuff in there that we were able to answer. So
Okay.
I'm copying this information, Danielle. I'll be sharing it with
Perfect.
everybody by email.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
By the way, tonight's meeting, we are recording. We're going to post this up to YouTube as well, and I'll
Sounds
include all
good.
of this information you're providing links for.
Of course.
Right.
Can I come back in for
Yes,
the
Jim.
question?
Yes, Jim.
You brought up early on how the electorate, the voting electorate anyway, in many cases, voting for people who say the right things, but they are voting for someone who is not really going to look after their needs. And given the whole range of possible programs that could be implemented, how do you see people like us and yourself going out in the public and making the case that this is for them without going through the whole alphabet of social policy and so forth?
Yeah. Kind of our thesis of the campaign is that our campaign's platform exists to serve everyday people. And legislators put people first, not corporations, not power, not money. That is what we tell people when they say, what's your campaign platform? That's what we tell people. And then they say, okay, what do you think about, what's your environmental platform, or what's your whatever? And all of it connects back. The reason why we are fighting for federal protection for the Springs is because it kills our local economies and small businesses, and it affects the health of towns and cities that were built around it. That's why all of our towns and cities were built here, is because they were built around this water source that we have been draining away because we've been giving handouts to multinational corporations. So we always take that thesis of making a difference in the lives of the everyday people and legislation that puts people first, and then we tie that into whatever we're talking about as like the specific policy point that they're asking us about.
Okay, Danielle, this
Thank
kind
you.
of ties into that. Have you given any thought at all that when you win, and I don't know how this works up in the U.S. House, whether you get to ask for committee assignments that you want when you win, or if you will just get assigned to a committee assignment. And I would like you to share with our members how the committee assignment ties into representation for all of us and not just another part of the county we don't live in.
Yeah, that's a great question. They do committee assignments by seniority, and most of the time you don't get to pick your committee assignments unless, of course, you're really senior. So I do not know what I will be assigned to. I do not know. If I had to guess, I would probably guess that it would have something to do with foreign policy. That's what I've spent most of my professional career in. Working and living abroad and doing humanitarian projects. And then even my master's is in intercultural studies, which is social change, anthropology, working with different societies to enact micro and macro changes at a cultural level. So I suspect that foreign policy will be a part of that. But basically, everything goes through committee first, right? So you have this legislation that gets put into a committee, the committee sits down, they talk, they work, and then it goes to the floor. And then it goes up for a vote. That's a really simplified version of it. But committee assignments are really important because that determines what even has a chance to become law. That's where all of the stuff is shredded up. That's where everything is added in. And you want to make sure that somebody has their priorities straight when they're on a committee, right? Because if they're sitting there and they've got special interests in their ear the whole time, they've got lobbyists talking to them, and they have big donors who work at multinational corporations who are putting their interests into every single bill, you don't want somebody like that on a committee that's going to be bringing something to the House floor for a vote just because it's going to get them money or it's going to keep them in their seat. I recently told one of my staffers, when I'm on the Hill, if I ever tell you, oh, I don't know if I want to vote that way because I might not get reelected, I want you to take me outside and I want you to just run me over with a car because I'm done. I'm done. That's the end. I don't think that will happen because you need to not be, like I said earlier, we need people who are not concerned with padding their pockets and keeping their power. We need people who are in it to serve people, not people who are in it for their own personal gain, for their own career move, for their own financial gain, nothing like that.
All right, I want to ask about your dream committee assignment. You may have just said if it's foreign policy, that might be it, I don't know. But also before we get off, before we end up with you, I want you to just tell us if you know yet when you're going to be at Veg Fest and
I do.
Strawberry Festival. You know the time you'll be there?
Yes, and I have that. They gave that to me. I would love to be on a foreign policy committee, and I bring a really unique perspective as somebody who has lived and worked abroad. We have people who are serving on foreign policy committees and security committees or whatever who haven't lived or seen some of the issues that we're dealing with, things that are causing humanitarian crises that we need to address. They don't know what that is. They haven't worked in that. They haven't studied that. And I know that compassion and making compassionate decisions is one of my strengths. Listening to people is one of my strengths. And that is something that you really need when you're talking foreign policy. I also would love to serve on the agricultural committee just because it affects our natural resources. And there is a way, agriculture and conservation do not need to be mutually exclusive. And it is an absolute lie that Republicans and conservatives tell us all the time, is that if you're an environmentalist, then somehow you're against agriculture. And that is not the case at all. They actually work beautifully together. And I would love to be on an agricultural committee to be able to take those two things as the most rural district in Florida, to be able to take those two things and really put together some thoughtful, wise policy that is built with small, medium, local farmers in mind and built with them along. Those are the people I want in my ear, are the experts, the people who are actually rolling their sleeves up and doing the work here in the district. Those are the people that I'm going to be asking about policy for. And I would love to be able to serve our small to medium farmers here in the Florida Third on an agricultural committee.
Ooh, that would be great. Well, listen, this is a foreign policy question.
Okay, let's hear it.
What's your opinion about our involvement with Ukraine and Russia?
That is a tough question. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am not going to pretend like I know what it's like to make those types of decisions.
Okay.
And I am not going to pretend like I am an expert on war or Russia or the Ukraine. And it is a deeply complicated history that extends beyond this current moment. I am worried for the people of the Ukraine, and it is concerning to me that Russia has had a lot of involvement with very little consequences, has had a lot of involvement up until this point with very little consequences. And I believe that in all foreign policy that we need to honor the will of the people and we need to honor what the people who are on the ground want, not what Americans want. And I really hope that is what happens here, that we are honoring the will of the Ukrainian people. And
so if the will of the Ukrainian people is that we do what we can within our association with NATO, that we would do it.
yeah.
Okay. I was just,
Yeah.
all right. I've been asked some questions about that, and there's
and again, I'm not going to pretend like I know what it's like to be the person making those big decisions, right? I won't be making presidential sized decisions in a foreign policy.
No, you won't, but in the Congress, you have the power of the purse. And
yes,
if
yeah.
to the extent that has something to do with this issue, then you would be
Definitely.
at some point involved in that. Okay.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
So are you gonna put it in the chat about the Veg Fest and Strawberry Fest?
I did just go ahead and put that in there, and we've got some sign up links in there. So we have 3 concurring events, all that are happening in Marion County, and
in Ocala, right?
In Ocala, yep. The first week of the first weekend in March, and we need volunteers who are able to. We'll have tables with palm cards and information and stickers and a banner and stuff like that. And we need people who can sign up for shifts, who can be there to stand at the table and talk to people. It really is as simple as that. We will be collecting petitions. We'll have a team member who's standing there with you, who's trained, who knows what they're doing. And it's one of my favorite things that we do. We just did Gainesville Veg Fest, and we talked to over 300 people, and it was incredible. We had some really good conversations. And so we're looking for people to sign up for a shift here or there. I believe they're only 2-hour shifts, just to stand at the table and hand out some information on the campaign. And that's some really good outreach stuff. That's the stuff that gets us votes and swings voters, is having those one-on-one conversations. So we'd appreciate it if any of you would be available. If you have, neighbors or kids or grandkids that you want to bring along, please bring them along. We'd love to have you.
Okay. Well, Gary and I will make sure we get out some specific information to our club members. I think Hal and I are already signed up for one of them. I don't remember. I don't have that information in front of me right now.
Perfect.
But I just want to say this is a little plug for this kind of thing. Hal and I had a ball at the Micanopy Fall Fair when we were at Danielle's event, and it was a lot of fun. Even talking to some of the Republicans was fun, because it was like a visit to the Twilight Zone. But it was okay. All right. Do I have any more questions? Gary, you have a question?
Jim Houlihan was trying to get in here, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I didn't see you.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I hope Danielle can.
Okay.
Okay.
Danielle, I just wanted to thank you. You have an excellent message. People have got to hear that message. And obviously you have the energy. The more people you get to hear your message, and the more people that hear what the current representative is doing or not doing, certainly the better. That's your campaign.
Yeah.
Your campaign is based on your energy and how many people hear you, obviously how many people you get out there to help you as well. So,
Yeah.
and that's my feeling on it, and I will be in touch. Unfortunately, I have a cruise coming up on February 28th.
Oh, it sounds so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim,
Well,
about that checkbook then.
Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, that's
Is
one
your-
of the challenges. People ask me what the challenge is here in this district. It is one of the largest geographically. It takes, almost 2 hours to get to one side, almost 2 hours to get to the south of it. It's a big district, and not only do we need people power in each of those counties, which is what we're building right now, is we're building these volunteer bases that when we have a Marion County event, we can call our Marion County team and say, hey, can you get the team together and can you guys be at this event? but we need to reach a lot of people as far and wide as we can, and we need resources. So not only do we need people, but we need money too. And it's expensive to run a campaign, and especially to run a campaign and pay staff and have an office and send out mailers and do all of the things that we need in order to reach these voters. So I would be honored to have all of you join our Marion County team and be on our team, but I would also be honored if you would entrust us with your financial resources as well. That's something that we need. So.
And guys, it doesn't have to be an exorbitant amount of money. Every little bit helps. Just one last thing. Have you organized a door knock in the section of Marion County that your district covers?
We have not organized like door knocking or canvassing yet.
Okay.
Like I said, one of our goals for this first quarter, so our first quarter ends at the end of March, is that we have a team put together in each county with a team captain. And then, then we have our team captain meetings and we say, okay, get together a group of people and we're going to do canvassing on Saturday. That way we're doing it in every county on the same day, instead of just taking people from Alachua County and sending them out into all of these different districts on the same day. That's a much better use of our resources. And you are the best people. Marion County residents are the best people to talk to Marion County residents. Bradford County residents are the best people to talk to Bradford County residents. So if any of you are interested in being the team captain for Marion, if you've got the energy and you want to organize people and get them together, and be our ears and eyes on the ground, or if you know somebody who you think of, we would love to have you do that. And I'd love to have my team get together with you and have a conversation with you. So, but that's our canvassing is second quarter. So that's after the end of March. April,
well,
yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and good information, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. And
of course.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Danielle.
Go on to our boring meeting now.
Thank you, Danielle.
All right, have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. Jim Carroll is still somewhere with me, maybe.
Yeah, he's here.
He's here.
I'm here.
All right, I'm gonna put my glasses on. Sorry for the glare, guys. Okay, I'm Gary. I don't know if you have your current bank balance statement with you, but I've got $485 for our bank balance.
Currently, I looked at it just before we got on the meeting, and it was 555.
555, good. Okay, and by the way, Gary, on my notes here, I say 59 paid club members, so you got one more, so that made it 60, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, good. All right. Okay, and presumably everybody on the meeting with us knows that you mail your checks to Gary if you haven't already done it, a $5 membership fee per person.
I
Okay.
think everybody that's on this meeting we've already got, but you on YouTube who are watching this, send me a check, drop it by my cubby.
Send money. Okay. The secretary's report. As I mentioned earlier, Amalia is on a little cruise right now. And does everybody who's here now on this meeting, did you have a chance? I'm going to hold this up. These are the minutes of the January 20 meeting, which I sent out in an email. Did anybody get to look it over?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I'd like to, get those minutes approved.
So moved. I move for approval of the January club minutes.
Okay.
Second it.
Second. Okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. Okay, all right. We don't have all that many people on the meeting with us tonight, but we were going to take more nominations from the floor for club officer positions. The board is down a board member right now, so we need someone. So I realize, not everybody who's affiliated or even a paid member of our club is here right now. But if you know anyone or if you would like to, that you could talk to them and lobby for them for board membership. The board really does a lot of stuff behind the scenes for the club that it's necessary to even have the club, you know. And so we really could use some help. So if you know anybody that you think would even be mildly interested, we would appreciate, because in March, I believe, Jim, we're having our elections in March, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, you can contact me directly. You can contact Gary Green. Gary Green's a board member. Jim Carroll's a board member. Herman Brown's a board member. You can contact any of us directly and ask questions about it or offer some suggestions. So are there any nominations from the floor? If you want to nominate yourself, that's okay. Anybody? Okay. I just need to ask anybody who would like to weigh in. What'd you think of Danielle before I move her?
She's exciting.
I'm getting a thumbs up.
Yeah, she's exciting. Fun to think about having a young dynamo representing us or representing Florida.
Yeah, there's another young lady who's down in the South. I can't remember her district, and unfortunately I don't. There are a couple of other Danielles, if you will, already. But we need Danielles and some Dans and some Johns and some Susies. We need a bunch of young people to get out there, and it's a hard job. I cannot believe that she goes to event after event. She has a full-time job, and then she does all this other stuff in her off time. And so honestly, we are not allowed. I don't know how many of you know the difference. You know, it's a terminology, but it's also a rule. We are not allowed to, and I've lost the word. This is a senior thing.
Endorse.
We can't endorse her. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary. We are not allowed to endorse her right now. When she gets on the ballot, you know, we can vote for her certainly. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, and Jim Carroll might help me out here, once she's on the ballot, if she has no Democratic challenger, obviously we can endorse her. But I'm not sure about the rule for if there is another Democrat. We hope, fervently hope, that there will not be another Democratic challenger for District 3, because that would water down her support. We want all the support, because she needs to beat Kat, and beating Kat is the thing she needs to do, not worrying about whether she needs to take votes away or another Democratic candidate needs to take votes away from her. So we need to support her. Well, thank you for letting me know that. If you didn't see an email from me or Gary, we plan on meeting in person at the Orchid Club in March, on March 24th. Now that is the fourth Thursday of the month. It's the one outline meeting date for this year. Most of the time we're going to be meeting on the third Thursday, but we had to move it to the fourth Thursday. Can I just see a thumbs up or a raise of hands if everybody's going to come to the in-person meeting? If you are going to come, if you're going to come to the in-person meeting, I just want to gauge the interest right here. Good. Okay. Orchid Club. We're going to encourage, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that. It depends on the caseload and what the CDC is saying as to whether we're going to, you know, say, okay, make sure you wear a mask. My personal opinion is, in the meeting at March, if anybody feels comfortable wearing a mask, if you don't feel comfortable, then don't, because I believe every one of our members have been vaccinated and boosted. I believe that to be true. So I really think we're going to be fine. Jim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you may have seen, I've forgotten which Nordic country it is, probably Denmark, that they lifted all the restrictions, and now they have a blossoming of cases, COVID cases. So leaving it wide open, you're risking something, and if you require things or recommend things, you're got problems too. So anyway, you can figure that out.
All I can say is my heart goes out to the scientists and doctors who are trying to guide us. As a respiratory therapist, I'm acutely aware of how respiratory viruses are spread. But I can tell you right now, I am not concerned very much about being in. If all of you have been inside the Orchid room, the Orchid ballroom, the Orchid Club ballroom, it's huge. It has tall ceilings. We can sit our tables 40 feet apart if we want to. We could be 12 feet away from each other if we want to. There is not going to be a huge viral load. I'd bet money that there wouldn't be a lot of virus being spread around in there. And, you know, I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but I certainly hope we have a good turnout and everybody wear a mask. If you want to wear a mask, we're not going to be the mask police. I don't think, you know, my board will weigh in on this for the next board meeting, but I don't know how you feel about that, Gary.
This is a group I would trust further than I would trust pretty much any other group in Oak Run.
Yeah. And once again, if there were people who felt that they were in danger of being compromised, the CDC has said that if you don't have an N95 mask, what I do when I go in Publix is I put on one of the surgical cloth masks on. I mean, it's not cloth, the surgical mask, the blue one. And then I put on a cloth mask over it. They're very tight fitting around my face. I do not feel that I'm putting out any virus if I had it, or anybody's going to get any into me. So you can double mask and feel, they said that it's about 95% protection with an N95 mask and about 95% protection with the surgical mask and your cloth mask over it. So that's about all I got, guys. And I cannot wait for us to get together in person. Let me see if I forgot anything. Anybody else got anything, any board member, anything you want to add or anything I might have forgotten?
I think we have almost everybody who's on the screen with us here today has already completed the survey that I sent out. Thank you for doing that. Maybe one has not yet done so, but I'll continue to remind people by email. We'll continue to collect input on that for at least another week, maybe a couple of weeks. We'll see how quickly we get in the numbers that we're looking for on that. But it's useful for us to know what you like, what you'd like to see different, how we can make the club and our activities better and more appropriate for you.
Right. And I'm hoping that, Gary, that what we'll do at the next board meeting, we always have a board meeting before the general meeting. And what we'll do, Gary, you might have fixed up a couple of reports for us before the next board meeting so we can sit there and discuss it and then make some recommendations to the membership.
Yes.
All right. I'm glad to see Herman made it on. Nice to see you, Herman. Okay. If there's nothing else from anybody, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
And we'll post this up on YouTube. Look for an email from me tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for being
Thank you so much.
Nice seeing you guys.
Good to see you
Very
all.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.